Aioli, oli, oli, ah.
Aioli, aioli,
Garlic.
Or the
Yamaha, Yamaha, Yamaha.
It is Mayahi.
Oh yeah, that's right. Maya.
Mayahi, Mayaha, Mayahi, Mayaha.
Welcome to the Survivor Turning Back Time podcast, the Survivor podcast that makes you go on a very lengthy date with your worst enemy. I'm your host, Stephen Levine, with my co-host, Jared Sheldon. Jared, how are you?
I didn't have to go on a date with my worst enemy, so better than that.
Let's spitball this.
Okay.
You're on a date with your worst enemy. No, you don't need names. Describe this. What would happen here?
So there is a man, we'll keep it anonymous, we'll call him Ted.
Okay.
Ted is an actor in the Chicagoland area.
It's a nice name for me.
What?
It's a nice name for me.
It's not you. No one loves Ted more than Ted. And Ted loves to just try to he'll do anything. He'll front stab you to get where he wants to go.
Sure.
And I don't want to give any specific details of this person's personality, just in case.
Sure.
But essentially, it would be a lot of hearing about how this person's career is going with a lot of embellishing or just straight up lying.
Yeah.
And us both knowing. Well, actually, that's not even true. Me knowing that he's embellishing or lying, but him believing everything he says.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. Right? Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you've had how many callbacks with NBC? Yeah, okay. I don't believe you.
I really dislike being around pathological liars. I've been across a couple in my lifetime. It is agonizing for me because you're right. They believe their own bullshit. And it's so frustrating when everyone in a room can read this and be like, you're lying to us.
There are lies that, you might tell to save face. Mm-hmm. I mean, people lie for a variety of different reasons.
Sure.
There are lies that you might, or embellishments you might give to, exaggerate your success or leave out things that you don't want to share with people or whatever. Fine. But when you believe all the things that you're saying, it's so much worse. Like, if you're just kind of acting is a really tough industry. And you end up in positions a lot where you get into accidental dick measuring contests that are meant to be nice.
Okay.
You meet someone, you're at an audition with somebody, the only thing you have in common is acting, and so you talk about acting, but then it's also that, if you haven't been working in a while or you're not proud of the projects you've been on, suddenly it feels really bad. So you might embellish the quality of the project you've been on or, whatever. That's all, I think, mostly from politeness. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
But if you're going to sit there and brag about things that haven't happened, but you have convinced yourself they have happened,
yeah,
it's so much worse.
Yeah, I had a guy, again, will not use names, but worked with him, and there was someone who had died in, a famous actress that had died in the news, and it was all over the news. It was on all the social medias, and we took a moment to really reflect on that prior to a rehearsal, and he took the moment to talk about the time that he worked with her.
Oh my God.
And how great and how kind she was, and everyone in the whole room was just sitting there. You don't know this person. We know you don't know this person. Don't fucking lie to us. It's uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable. So that's someone, and it has a level of narcissism in it too. Is that what your worst person would be? Your date with your worst enemy?
No. Who would be my worst enemy? The only thing that's coming to mind is the one. Well, Jared and I have a shared experience of working
a few.
Yeah, a few. And we worked at a theme park together.
Oh my God.
And we had a theme park worker who had issues of his own, who came up to you like to
Let
play with
me
us.
tell this part of the story because
Sure.
this is what you weren't there for this.
Sure.
So I was walking through this theme park, walking to work. Like we are there 4 times a day, and I'm dissociating. I'm either like listening to a podcast or maybe I didn't have earphones in. Maybe I'm just like zoned out. And this guy comes up behind me, puts a hand on my shoulder, and goes and like tries to scare me. So I have some self-defense training and all of that. I have stage combat experience as well. That's obviously very different, but it all my instincts are honed, if you will. So I immediately, he was to my right, I tapped him on the chest, pushed back, created distance, and then like looked for what it was because in my mind I was so spaced out that like I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, okay, we're good. And I was like, hey man, don't do that.
Please
like,
don't do that.
Like, please don't do that.
Don't sneak up behind me.
Yeah, I didn't. Not like I was gonna like swing at the guy or anything, but like you just really triggered my fight or flight instinct there.
Yep.
He took it incredibly personally, which is where Steven gets involved.
Yeah. So I was Jared's manager at the time, and of course he brings it to me like it was something stupid too. Like we were getting lunch with the team, and I don't think you were there that day.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know this.
It was your off day or something, and he comes up to me and he has the audacity to be like, yeah, if Jared ever pushes me again, I will mess him up. And I had to take a moment and like really assess the situation and go into full-on manager mode of, if you ever come near my team again, I will go straight up the ladder to corporate.
Yeah, because I think I told you the story as like this kind of funny thing happened.
Yeah.
Like in a way that like, man, like, we're all good, but like, that's just, it triggered my fight or flight instinct, and at the time he apologized.
Yeah.
And I just kept going into my shift.
If he wanted to be like, hey, this thing happened, it made me really uncomfortable, I would be like, yeah, I heard the situation, let's talk about it. Instead, threatening my team member is not the way to go, buddy.
The kid was embarrassed.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean to embarrass him. And I didn't feel embarrassed on his, like, in the moment on his behalf. I was like, oh, yeah, you tried to do something funny, and it just wasn't funny. That's fine. Yeah, he took it very personally.
He did.
And it was a problem for like weeks.
I had to very much get involved. So yeah, I think it would be him. There are people out there who very much dislike me, maybe even hate me.
How?
It's out there. Most of them I will absolutely stand behind and be like, I was in the right. Oh well.
There are people that hate me, and I'm like, yeah, they're right. And there's people that hate me, and I'm like, eh. But I'm a much louder and controversial, and my past is messier than yours.
That's fair.
So I'm surprised there's anyone out there that like hates you.
Yeah. I got exes. We all got exes.
Well, okay, fair enough. I guess that counts. Oh man, imagine going on this date with your ex.
I'm actually very civil with most of my exes.
That must be nice.
Bumper.
I'm gonna put a big asterisk on that. I wouldn't say, like, I'm not uncivil with most of my exes, but we don't talk anymore or anything like that.
And I don't know why you would have a reason to talk to most of your exes.
Some people are still friends with their exes. Yeah. I don't understand how.
I have a couple.
Yeah. This episode came out on March 28th of 2001, 2 weeks before the last episode, because we have the dreaded filler episode between...
The filler episode!
Yeah. Of a recap, which Steven or I have not watched at this point. So if there's anything interesting in that, we'll throw it in the next episode. But we're recording 2 today. We just didn't have time on the docket today. In March 28th of 2001, a couple of interesting things happened. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame had some notable inductees. Michael Jackson, Paul Simon, Steely Dan. Gotta love us some Steely Dan.
Steely Dan.
Steely Dan.
Are we reeling in the years?
And the 21st Golden Raspberry Awards went to Battlefield Earth.
Oh, okay. That's the one for like the worst movie, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. The
And
Razzies.
Have you seen Battlefield Earth?
No.
Oh, it's horrible. It's bad. Some notable box office hits of this week. It'll be technically March 30th They release them on Fridays. Spy Kids is topping the charts. So if you remember where you were when Spy Kids came out.
I loved Spy Kids.
Oh, me too.
I thought it was so fun.
It also has one of the most iconic lines in history.
Go on.
Do you think God stays in heaven because he also fears the things he's created?
That is Spy Kids 2.
Oh, dang it, you're right.
Because it's what's his face?
Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi, yeah.
Yep. And Enemy at the Gates is number 6, which is an interesting movie.
Nice.
Oh, and the number 1 song of the week is no longer the same song it has been that no one cares about. It is Angel by Shaggy. I think it's probably another smooth R&B song. I did not look it up.
It's Shaggy, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I don't remember Angel. I'll look that up later.
Maybe there's people... Yeah, if there's people listening that really liked this era of music, it means something to them. I did not like this era of music as much, which is why I pivoted to also include movies.
We're at a transitionary phase for music, and it doesn't know what it's going into, and I don't particularly like what it's getting into at this point.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. This is also about to birth, the heavy pop punk times.
Oh, I'm so excited.
It's great, where it starts becoming huge in the charts.
You got your Blink-182s, your Fall Out Boys. Ugh.
Good Charlotte.
Mediocre Charlotte.
Yeah, fair. Jumping into the episode 10, Honeymoon or Not.
This is a terrible episode title.
Terrible episode title. They kind of allude at it later, but not really.
It literally could have just been a honeymoon ?
Yeah.
Or honeymoon or not. It's like it's trying to be a phrase that people say, but it's not.
It's not.
It's clunky.
Nobody says that. We start the episode, as we do many episodes, with a rainy night. The fire's out. People are feeling it.
Though this seems to be the worst it is as far as conditions go. Mm-hmm. We haven't heard them talk about the river being muddy or a difficulty in their environment as much as we do this episode. They're losing hooks.
Yep.
They are having a hard time boiling the water. Maybe that was happening before, but we haven't heard about it.
Yeah, the big challenge is that the rain is stirring up the riverbed, so the water is murky. It is very hard to see. It's very dirty. So when they're taking it out to boil it, it still looks disgusting.
You're still eating dirt.
Yeah, even though you're boiling it and it's technically clean of whatever parasites that were in there, you're still eating dirt. Not fun. They acknowledge that they only have really a 2 to 3 day supply of rice.
Yeah.
That is not enough.
We are only a little over halfway through the season. Mm-hmm. And they will be out of rice at the end of this episode.
Yeah, and they don't really acknowledge why. They just kind of say that they're out. Nobody really... I know in other seasons when this happened, they kind of say, yeah, something happened, it got dumped out.
We've been eating too much.
They really haven't said what's going on.
That's true.
Just that their fish supply has been short lately, so that they've been having to supplement it with rice. So maybe they are eating more rice?
I think, yeah, they kind of hint they're eating more rice. It also makes me think Survivor just didn't give them enough rice in the first place. We see in the teaser for the next episode that Jeff is going to offer them more rice, but at what cost?
But at what cost, Jared?
I don't know what the ultimatum's going to be. It seems like a failure of the show to not provide them with adequate food in an area to at least survive, bare bones survive on.
I feel like that's something that they have to be completely upfront with them about, right? To say, all right, this is how much rice you have. This is how many days that you will be here. To plan accordingly.
Right. Yeah, true. And it just makes me think that either they were not irresponsible with it, but that the amount is just so little that they can't survive off of it if they're trying to spread it over 44 days.
Yeah. And this isn't me saying that they're overeating. They're very clearly malnourished and tiny.
Dude, people have lost, we see a lot of Colby and Roger in this episode, shirtless, and they have lost weight.
Yeah. Even the small people are looking very, very in danger of there being a problem. Amber is tiny.
Nick's lost a lot of weight too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all are they're all in rough shape, except Jerry. Jerry doesn't look any different than she does in episode 1.
Jerry has won all the rewards, though.
That is true.
We'll talk about that. Speaking of Nick is struggling to eat and drink because his throat is on fire. This, I feel like, is an issue with the water.
Probably. He describes it first as like something in his throat, but then he talks about having swollen taste buds.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's sick or if he's just, it's just the elements and like allergies or whatever, like not an actual like virus or something, but just like wear and tear.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to know either.
My guess, it sounds like a virus, like a non-lethal virus,
Sure.
but still something that is causing you issues.
I'm actually surprised we haven't seen more people get sick this season.
Yeah.
People are, especially standing out in the cold like that a couple episodes ago, and just all the exposure to the elements and harsher elements than we see in places like Borneo or Fiji.
Yeah. It's brutal. Like I said, it's only going to get worse before it gets better. We get to the reward challenge. I'm sorry, before we get to the reward challenge, they are instructed to pick partners.
Modern Survivor would pair them off.
Absolutely.
They'd randomly. They would
draw lots.
Yeah. It's interesting that they don't, and the drama this creates.
Yes. So everyone is pretty much in agreement that we should draw for partners. Just put names in a hat and draw. Except for Jerry.
Now, fun fact, I didn't know this. Jerry's actually illiterate. Because she cannot read a room.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was so confused for a second.
Like, every single person is like, yep, let's draw names. And she's like, no.
No. I refuse.
And they're like, well, we just want to do it fairly. And she's like, sucks, game's not fair.
Yeah. I want Colby because game's not fair. I want the strongest person in the entire camp because I can. Who's going to stop me?
She is the example. She is what I thought was going to happen to Rich last season. Or could happen to Rich last season. Where she has become the obvious, tyrant. She's a tyrant. Mm-hmm. And people, well, as we'll see at the end of the episode, aren't standing for it anymore.
Yeah, she really does think that she is untouchable at this point. Yeah. And she can just run the table.
Rich is smart enough to take groups' opinions and listen to them. He was still arrogant. Mm-hmm. But Jerry is, not even trying to hide it.
Nope. Not at all.
And then she gets Colby anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they do. They draw names and she gets Colby and she's so smug about it. She's so happy.
Yep.
Good for her.
She's just so controlling. And I can see, I talked last episode, and I won't rehash it about how I think that really poisoned the filming at the Ogakor camp because she is just so controlling. Everyone was just trying to hunker down and get through it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. How do you have such poor people skills?
Yeah. It's so frustrating to watch.
And I liked Jerry earlier in the season. I thought Survivor was painting her as a villain kind of unfairly in the first couple episodes. And, they know when they start the edit how the season ends and the journeys everyone takes. So this is a case of them showing us what happens later, which is undeniable. It is undeniable that she is hated by everyone in the tribe that isn't Amber.
Yeah.
And I don't think Roger has the capacity for hate.
That's probably true. But yes, Jerry is the quintessential Survivor villain. Yeah. It's there. It's undeniable.
There's very little nuance to her these last couple episodes. She's just being, and I'm sure some of this she feels backed in a corner, mm-hmm. and so she's trying so hard to clamp down and keep the people in her sphere of influence, and it's only pushing them farther away. As you see, Colby's done with her.
Yeah,
she doesn't know it. She feels it, but she doesn't know it. And he's everyone except for Amber is done with her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. So we get into the challenge. And what I consider the best challenge with the worst editing.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
So this is an obstacle course. A full-on camp obstacle course.
Ninja Warrior type of,
It's
easier. But
it's cute. Yeah, it looks like a kid's obstacle course. You could do this. Most of this could be done by an 8-year-old.
And this one wasn't sponsored by the U.S. Army.
It was not sponsored by the U.S. Army. It's a similar concept, though.
Yeah.
But they jump into it, and they're just showing real basic clips, and they're jumping all around of the first 2 rounds, because it's a tournament and there's only 8 people, so there's only 2 rounds. You eliminate half, and then boom, you're in a final.
Yeah, so why did they edit it so badly then? Because it's not like the immunity challenge last episode where it's like, oh, this is a long challenge. Or
Correct.
Like, cut it up. They could have just shown the entirety of the races.
Yes.
Instead, they cut into them. The only one we see that's even close to edited well is the final.
Correct. I think that's what they were going for, was they didn't want to show 3 races. They just wanted to show the last one, but they had to tell you who got into the last one.
I know that the pairings were Keith and Amber and Colby and Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the rest of them.
Yeah, it was Elizabeth and Nick and Tina with Kentucky Joe.
Okay.
From what I could gather, because you're right, it does go very quickly.
Yeah, they try to hide the 4 of them. It's very, very odd.
Yeah, Jared, how do you fix this challenge?
Edit it better. Like, take away... We have the people who win the challenge, Colby and Jerry. We have so much footage of them just looking out over the Outback. Of them, music going over while they're talking. We're not even hearing what they're talking about because they are not talking about the game. Of them just, sharing their personal life and eating. It goes on for, 10 to 15 minutes. Cut 5 minutes of that, because it is beautiful shots. I do like the extravagance of it. It is very cool.
Yeah.
Cut, 5 minutes of that and actually show the races as races. The only reason I can think that they wouldn't is they weren't even close. And looking at the team pairings, maybe they weren't even close.
It didn't look like the first 2 were very close.
But you can show at least the start and then, just focus on the winning team doing it. I don't know.
So here's how I fix it. Very much, Survivor learns its lesson later down the road. So here's what you do. You build 2 more sets for the obstacle course and everyone runs at the same time.
It's not bad.
Is the difficult route, because then they have to build it did look a little elaborate, so it would be hard to build all that again.
I do like the tournament style. Having to run it twice makes
tough.
it harder. I mean,
It does.
Jerry was gassed at the end of that.
Yeah, Jerry was gassed after the first one.
True.
So, to do it again, absolutely brutal.
We see Colby literally yeet her over the wall.
It's true. Colby picked her up to get through a life preserver, essentially, one of those that you have to jump through, and just threw her over.
That too, but also the wall that they climb, where he stands on her back and is pulling her up. He literally gets to the point where she's dead over the wall, and he grabs her by her shorts and just throws her head first over the other side of the wall.
Let's go. My other suggestion, and how to make this challenge more interesting without having to build 4 obstacle courses, break it down into parts. Survivor does this all the time, where if you're the last team through a certain part, you don't get to go on to the next part. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to build 4 chutes and ladders style of slides. It's okay. Just bring parts and edit it down, and then you don't have to show garbage clips in the first round.
It's so weird because we have the immunity challenge is also a tournament style, and they do a really good job with it.
Yeah.
Higher stakes,
But still, I would say that this is higher stakes.
really,
Yeah. Yes and no. I'm going to eat those words, but
yeah.
I think the immunity challenge does change the way how the game goes.
I think so,
because
too.
it forces people to think in a new way. But they're so desperate for food at this point, and they're so desperate to get away from each other that it's big.
That's
and
true.
part of the reason why the person who goes home
It's because they win.
because they win this.
Part
of the reason.
Yeah, I think it's a very small part. I think
Okay.
it's everything else they've done up to this moment. And actually, I think their fit about the game not being fair, Jerry actually says that.
Oh,
and,
no, I know.
Yeah, is more of the reason than the fact that because they all know it's part of the game.
Yeah.
You win a challenge, no harm, no foul. They kind of, Jerry has a hard time not gloating, so that doesn't help. But I don't think if anyone wins a challenge, I don't think contestants hold it against them for the most part.
Yeah.
I would hope, because they're all they're not the ones who decide that no one else gets to come with them, or that how many people get to come with them.
But then Survivor puts it on them.
Yes.
Later down the road, and I mean, even in the first season, Survivor makes them make choices like that.
Yeah, but even in this case, like, they didn't get to choose another couple to go with them.
No.
So
Nor should they have.
No, they should not have. But congratulations, you won. There's nothing. The best group won in that case. I mean, if they didn't already hate Jerry, that wouldn't have been played against Jerry. But they already hate Jerry, so I guess it might elevate that spite a little bit.
Yeah. But like we were alluding at, Jerry and Colby win the reward challenge after essentially Colby is dragging Jerry kicking and screaming across that finish line. It was great. There's not a whole lot between challenge and them going to the reward. Jerry briefly talks about how people could be upset that she's won 2 challenges, but I don't care.
I mean, that's the one thing I agree with her on in this episode. Like, she shouldn't. You won the challenge. That, yeah.
You did it. Good for you.
Yep. That's the point of a challenge. Like,
Yeah.
they shouldn't be, don't be a sore loser about it if you don't already hate the person.
Yeah.
Fun fact, did you know that the helicopter pilot was also Sean's dad?
Stop it. Stop. Get out of here. It was not Sean's dad. This was an Australian man.
Oh, it was Sean's dad doing an Australian accent for the bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's lying, in case you couldn't tell. Helicopter flies in to weirdly Lion King-esque music.
Yeah.
I don't remember this song ever playing again, so I was very confused. The pilot looks like a ship's captain. I don't know
Yes.
why he's dressed like that. Is that
I think that's how pilots dress.
that's how like
Airline pilots
airline
dress.
passenger pilots, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected that.
In my brain, every helicopter pilot is either wearing military uniform or a
Cargo clothes?
a zip up, either leather or fleece to keep warm.
Cargo pants and like
And
a cowboy hat.
Yeah, like that. So yes, Jerry gets in with the nice Australian man and Colby, and they fly off to the Great Barrier Reef. Kind of. They're up there, so I'm confused as to how long this trip took in a helicopter.
Yeah, they don't really show us, but they're gone for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's not night when they come back. So
Correct.
they must leave sometime in the morning. I mean, they were there for a few hours, so the trip probably it takes less than 12 hours from point to point, probably. I don't know how long it takes or how far away they are from the Great Barrier Reef.
I did one thing I did notice in the trip. They get out of the helicopter. They get into a boat.
Yes.
The boat takes off, and they use the helicopter to get a video shot of the boat.
We also had a helicopter following a helicopter to get shots of the helicopter.
Yes, it was a lot today. We're paying our helicopter pilots. So
This reward cost them a lot of money.
it really did.
And there's no apparent sponsor except for Pepsi. That isn't probably didn't shell out a lot of money
Yeah.
for this spot.
No. So they get in the boat. They're traversing along the boat, and they try to make it look like it's just the two of them and the driver of the boat. That's it. They don't want anybody else to see that. But there's clearly shots from the boat of both Colby and Jerry. Mm-hmm. So what they'll try to do is they'll try to hide the cameraman. They didn't do a very good job of hiding this cameraman. This cameraman is laying down. At first I was like, why is this person is sleeping in the boat? Just like right visible, very visible, high visibility. He's just sleeping. No, it's the cameraman trying to hide from the helicopter. Poorly.
Production's weird, man.
Cover yourself with a tarp or something. I don't know. And I don't remember where it was, but there was an awkward hand touch where Jerry, I think it was in the helicopter.
Yeah. Something where it's the type of hand touch of like, oh yeah, I agree with you, or like whatever, but it's not well received, and she takes her hand back right away, which is interesting because she really, there's a little bit of the lady doth protest too much in Colby and Jerry's relationship here, where Jerry's trying so hard to seem like everything's fine, and Colby's like, I didn't really want to be here with her. I just wanted to be away.
Yeah. He says that. That's exactly what I wrote down. It was great. Yeah, so they get to the beach. They get to a gorgeous looking area. It looks like your typical Survivor, Fiji, Borneo type place.
Yeah, we were watching this together, and you literally out loud went, "Oh, look, it's Fiji."
Oh, look, Fiji. Where there was food, there's pasta salad, there's drinks, there's Doritos.
There's Doritos.
In all its early 2000s bold design flavors.
So I will say, Colby has a fantastic game face.
Oh, he's great at
Because
it.
I mean, I'm sure he was also having a good time, don't get me wrong, and very happy to be fed and very happy to be away. And maybe he was even having genuine moments of connection with Jerry.
Yeah.
But then we hear later in his confessional how much he's like, oh God, I did not. I want it to be anyone else but Jerry. But you would never have gotten that from his body language, from his words. Like, he has a really good poker face.
For as poor as he was earlier in the season at hiding it,
Yeah, that's true.
this was a good afternoon for him. Oh, sorry, one more sponsor. The iZone camera. They got disposable cameras, both regular and waterproof cameras.
Oh, I didn't catch that they said the brand or like.
They didn't say the brand, but it was very clearly in bold print on the front of the camera. I think it was. It's like the cool, hip, high shutter speed, so you can catch all your action shots.
Sure.
Funny. I feel like I used a lot of disposable cameras when I was younger.
Yeah, there's something really cool about them. I was at an awards ceremony a couple of weeks ago, and somebody brought one, and I was like, that's neat.
For an award ceremony?
Like, just somebody that was there being nominated for something or supporting somebody or something, they had a disposable camera with them that they were taking pictures with.
But I hope the light was good, because those are notoriously bad indoors.
I mean, they also had their phone. I'm sure they were taking pictures with their phone, too. But it was the novelty of just having, like, a disposable camera. You have 28 shots. Get the best 28 shots you can.
Yeah. And then it briefly cuts back to camp. There's a croc in the shot.
Oi, there's a croc in me shot.
Oi! No, everyone's just kind of laying around. It's pretty boring. It's just showing the dichotomy of, cool, awesome trip to the Great Barrier Reef with food and people laying around.
And we have a little bit of talk of, I think, in this section of, like, hey, Nick is going home if he doesn't win immunity, between Roger, Elizabeth, and Nick.
He better win.
And he does, and he looks, we said it earlier, but he looks rough. Like, it's been a day since the first part of the episode, and he looks worse than he did the day before.
Yeah, he really does. And everyone kind of feels the same. Like, he's in danger. He better win.
Even, I think Roger says, like, he's ready to go home or something like that.
Yeah, I was a little confused at this section because I was like, is he, like, willing to throw himself under the bus and be like, I quit, vote me out? It feels very strange. And then give it a couple minutes and it tries to make it seem like, no, he just means he's in danger. He has to win.
Yeah, or like maybe he's at peace with it. Like, oh, I'm okay if I go home because I get to go home, or not even go home. I get to go live in non this.
Non-Ponderosa.
Yeah, exactly.
Ponderosa doesn't exist yet. And then there's not much left of note.
No.
Colby and Jerry have a good time, and then they fly back, and Colby takes Coral from the Great Barrier Reef.
I don't think you're allowed to do that.
Certainly not anymore.
Certainly not anymore.
Because that sucker is dying, and dying quickly. Yeah. So, one, if you're out in nature, say you're on a vacation, don't take things from beaches, from woods, from national parks. It hurts the national park.
Leave nature in nature.
Yeah. Please. It's dying, and we are killing it. If everyone does this, we kill it faster.
Speed run decimated Earth any percent.
Yeah, but he took coral bits for everyone.
And didn't tell Jerry.
Didn't tell Jerry, no.
Jerry's surprised by this.
Yeah, and she is kind of upset by it, too.
And a little delusional at her place in the tribe.
Truth.
So she says in a confessional that it is her and Colby on top. Mm-hmm. She felt like they were neck and neck. They're the two best people playing the game, and that just put him over her in what she thinks will be the final two voting.
Do you think... I'll take Amber out of this entirely. Put Put Amber and Jerry as the final two. Do you think Jerry receives even one vote?
No.
Okay.
She would have to make a really good case at Tribal, at Final Tribal, and it'd have to be about how strong of a game she played strategically.
Sure.
Because in order for her to get there, she'd have to make some type of move that blows
absolutely.
everyone pants off, or go on a crazy immunity run.
Okay.
So she'd have to really pump the resume. Even then, I think she loses, but she might get a vote or two from someone like, say, a Nick, who might admire the way that she played the game on a strategic level.
Sure.
Maybe. That is the optimistic case.
I think Amber is the only person that she would get a vote from. Maybe Keith.
No, she would not get a vote from Keith. Are you kidding me?
No, I'm sorry. Steal a vote from in a final tribal council.
Oh, I understand. Okay. Yeah. No, she has... It's so funny that she thinks she can win the final tribal.
She
you have
cannot.
burnt bridges with everyone in both tribes that are left.
Yep. Good luck.
It has been a struggle for Keith and Tina and Colby to keep you around.
They're trying their best. Please stop making this difficult for them.
She won't. She can't.
She
doesn't.
And she does not. Jump to the challenge, because we talked about Nick feeling miserable. Jump to the challenge. It is a balanced challenge.
So this is a weird thing. They keep stressing. This is now 2 individual immunities in a row. Maybe 3. I think it's 3. I think they've done it for all 3. Stating right up front, this is not a contest of strength. Jeff has brought up every single time, maybe not the first time, but I think so. I can't figure out why.
I think they're trying to distance themselves from making it look like only the biggest and the strongest are going to succeed here. Possibly to, like you've said before, put the thumb on the scale, because Ogakori is going right down the line of strongest people to vote out. Once they got their one person who they had to vote out, boom, it was Alicia. Boom, it's
supposed to be Nick.
It's supposed to be Nick.
That's true. Yeah, I was thinking from an audience. I think your thing makes more sense because it's not like we had a crazy big strong guy on season 1 that went on an immunity run. It was Kelly.
Yeah,
and those were not all strength-based challenges. Like this isn't. There's been a knock in the past about too many, or I feel like I've heard knocks in the past that Survivor relies too much on strength-based individual immunity challenges in the early seasons, but I haven't seen that so far, so I'm surprised they're already making it a point of focus.
It's definitely more of a thing in the early stages where it's 2 tribes.
Sure.
That's much more weighted for strength.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But they do feel like they're trying to make it clear that you can't just win in Survivor by being the biggest and the strongest. It's not about that. This is them playing to the audience. And
yeah, I guess setting that tone and that expectation early is important.
Even if it's not in the most elegant or smooth way of doing it.
It's so, like, do you get it? Do you get it? Do you get it?
Yeah. This is a balanced challenge. They are at a river. They have 3 separate sections, again, tournament style. The first one, a rope pull, where you have a long rope, which is much longer than a tug-of-war. It's not intended to be a tug-of-war. You loop your hand around one just so you don't
let go of the rope. Yeah.
But he's essentially encouraging them to don't make it a tug-of-war.
Yeah.
Like, let go of the rope. It's cool if you do. It's about your balance. It's about throwing each other off. Make it fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really like this challenge.
Okay, I was gonna ask what you call the challenge. This challenge fucks. I love this challenge. This is my favorite challenge thus far.
Okay.
Yeah. Of either season.
Which was your favorite? Okay, I'm gonna describe all 3 of them. There was a rope pull on a steady platform. There was a shaky log, which essentially it looked like a really long ski that they put on a swing, and you had to like try to rock the other person. I don't know why I was moving to show.
This is an audio medium.
Yeah. You had to try to rock the other person off. And then finally, the combination of the 2, best they could, unstable boxes with a rope pull.
I don't think I liked any individual one over any of the others.
Okay.
I think they all worked really well. I guess I just said that, and now I'm thinking, I think number 2 might have been my least favorite.
Correct. I agree.
Yeah, it's just hard to tell what's going on, and I'm sure there is strategy and, like, kinetics, but, like, it's not good for us, the audience. Like, we can't tell it's very subtle movements that they're reacting to and changing their balance on, whereas, like, a rope is more, like, we can see what they're doing to each other rather than they're both shaking this board together.
Yeah, what's weird about that challenge is the way that the ski thing was set up in the second section was it gave it pretty much free motion of forward and back. So if you were facing forward on this ski, you could rock it toward your opponent or behind you really well. Side to side momentum, though, was almost nothing.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't really give it 360 degree motion, and of course you can't anyway because it has to be anchored somewhere. But I feel like there's a better way that you can anchor this where you could allow them to kind of rock to the side, give them more to play with.
Yeah, like on like a gyro that gives it a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Any highlights you want to pull out of this?
Not necessarily. It's one of those challenges that was really fun to watch, but it's not very fun to talk about.
Okay.
Like, I like the ingenuity, or the structure of the challenge is fun to talk about, but the actual, like, tournament is not super interesting until the end, where Nick is fighting for his life. I guess watching Nick through the challenge is very important, because he's the only one that matters. If Nick gets immunity, it changes the vote. If he does not, the vote stays the same. And he does.
Yeah. Before we get into that, I want to talk about certain matches that really made me go, wow.
Okay.
And it's not the ones that you would expect. They have nothing to do with Nick.
Okay.
Roger and Keith in the first round was a great match.
That is true. That is true.
I didn't expect it to be, but it was fun. It was a good time. There was a lot of strategy involved. Keith was like, he dropped the entire rope to try to throw him off.
And Roger tried to pull it all to him.
Yeah, it was great. Who ended up winning that one? Was it
Roger?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. I loved it.
Yeah, no, you're right. That was a fun match.
And Colby in the second round is balance god because he was practically off the ski multiple times.
He had so many saves.
Yeah, he at the point was leaning backwards with one foot on, and like, how did you do that? It's amazing.
Man's got muscles in his feet.
Yeah, but he can't survive the unstable boxes because Nick beats him in the final round.
Yeah.
And then after the challenge, goes up to Elizabeth and says, "Hope I didn't seal your fate."
Yeah, I mean, I think he means that genuinely.
No, he did. He absolutely. It wasn't out of malice. It was, oh man, I'm so happy for me, but
I'm so sad for you.
Yeah.
And this is why we see everyone in the camp wrestling with the decision. Mm-hmm. Now, it is interesting to me that Roger doesn't come up at all. It is clear that Okafor will make it Elizabeth, or they'll go with this backup plan that we're going to talk about in a minute that they end up going with.
People discount Roger as the weak link. They think he can't win any challenges. He's not going to be a strategy mastermind pulling people here and there. But he is likable.
He also seems to do a lot around camp, so he talks fish economy, you know.
Yeah. Fish economy.
So maybe that's why they're keeping him, or that he's not, brought up in the conversation. But this is Elizabeth being such a good character and from what we see, good person. Mm-hmm. Everyone likes Elizabeth. She is the anti-Jerry. Everyone who meets Elizabeth in this season, adores her. And it is really hard for Okafor to send her home. There is still this thought among most of the players that the person, maybe not the most worthy person, but a worthy person should win the $1 million.
Sure.
And they're all thinking, well, Elizabeth shouldn't go home. This sucks.
Yeah, they show a shot of the tent of the Kucha people minus, the three of Colby, Keith, and Tina wrestling with the decision and saying, we could really, I think Keith is really trying to float this and make Jerry the target.
Yeah.
And Colby is having none of it. So this is some solid editing.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, we all want to do it. I know we want to do it, but we just can't do it. It doesn't make sense for us to do it.
He says one thing that tipped me off that he might.
Okay.
He says something like, he's talking about, like, we need to do the right thing. He says something like that as, like, the last line. And I was like, oh, voting off Jerry is the right thing. If you're going to have a right or a wrong in this scenario.
Sure.
So I was, that was, he tipped his hand a little bit to us there, but it can be interpreted either way.
Yeah, it could be interpreted as the right thing for the game, because they are talking about, this is a game for $1 million. We don't mess around here. We have the numbers. Don't fuck it up.
But they have the numbers without Jerry, too.
That they do.
You said last episode that, like, Amber, like, oh, you don't keep Amber if you get rid of Jerry. I don't know if that's true. We'll see next episode.
Yeah.
Because, like, is she gonna go and try to work with the Kucha 3? I don't think so.
Not to tip it off, but like if I was in that position, I would be desperately afraid that would happen. Like, you don't put yourself in jeopardy if you're unsure of what this wild card is gonna do.
Yeah,
you have the numbers to run the table.
And I think that's modern Survivor eyes, because I think the idea of somebody flipping tribes
Unheard of. Absolutely unheard of.
Which is, I think Jerry's a really important person to the evolution of Survivor.
Sure.
Because she forces their hand. She makes them vote for her.
Yeah. And it brings so many possibilities.
It does.
Ugh.
It shows you that you can turn on your tribe with other tribe members, or the other tribe people still around, and the world doesn't come crashing down. Or maybe it does. We'll see.
We get to tribal. There's no rain this time. Hey. Jerry is surprised with the things that she says sometimes. Essentially, she's admitting that she doesn't have control over her mouth sometimes.
Yeah, and I actually wrote down before, when I thought it was going to be Elizabeth going home, that it's very risky to keep Jerry around any longer, because she does have the ability to go on an immunity run. I mean, anyone does.
Yeah.
But Jerry has shown herself to be very competent at the challenges. She hasn't won an immunity yet, but she's won the last 2 rewards.
Yeah.
And if she just needs to win a couple challenges in a row, and now it's a little harder to get rid of her.
And Elizabeth, in full reluctance to lay down and die, speaking to Ogakor, no one is safe. Essentially saying, hey, make your move now, otherwise you won't get a chance.
Yeah.
And they do!
They do.
Take Jerry out.
Yeah, and I was actually a little disappointed in Jeff, just to go back real quick.
Okay.
In this tribal. He just paints a giant bullseye on Elizabeth. It doesn't end up costing her spot, but he goes a little too hard. Like, I'm fine highlighting her because everyone knows. But he is, like, making the case for voting her off. He's like, Elizabeth, you're very likable. If you get to the final 2, you have a really good chance of winning that $1 million. And I'm like, Jeff, shut up.
Jeff, stop that.
Let them make their own opinions
Yeah.
about that. Like, you can highlight the, like, hey, are you feeling the pressure? And he did it a couple times in season 1, too, where I'm just like, dude, it's too far.
Yeah, don't make their decisions for them. Give them basic facts and let them discuss. Don't make it about you.
Yeah. I am curious, because we see Amber's vote. It's for Elizabeth, and she says, sorry, I made a promise to vote, to vote with the tribe. Something along the lines of, I promise.
You're a good person.
You're a good person, but I want to keep my word.
Yeah.
Which implies to me, maybe that's just she's just saying that because she likes Elizabeth, but I'm wondering who her next vote would be. It's not Jerry.
I don't think it's said in a way that, like, she's torn. I think it's said in a way that, hey, I don't mind you as a person, but you gotta go.
That's fair. It left some ambiguity where I was like, did somebody approach Amber trying to get her vote? We'll never know, because we had our 3 minutes of contractual Amber time in one confessional. That's all we get.
Again, good confessional out of Kentucky Joe. Oh, baby. Look out if she gets up on the wrong, in a bad mood.
Oh, yeah, in his vote, like, she usually wakes up in a good mood, but oh boy, look out if she gets up in a bad one.
Beautiful. Oh, we have reached the end of that. No more Jerry. Jerry's out.
Does Jerry come back?
Jerry does come back.
Yeah, of course she does.
Jerry will be back in All Stars.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yep.
She's too much of a character to not bring back.
You will not be. This will not be the end of Jerry.
I hope she matures a little bit. Like, I hope that well, I guess her stuff wasn't immaturity. I hope she gets better at reading the room. Mm-hmm. I hope that she can learn from this experience because she showed so much promise early in the season.
Sure.
And just got way too cocky and way too into herself and probably felt really vulnerable in a corner too, but reacted to it in the ways that if she does the same thing in All Stars, she's not going to be around long.
Right.
If she can grow from it, I think she can actually do quite well.
Okay. You give it season 2, 3 more years. Mm-hmm. Come back in 3 years. Do you think she does better or worse in All Stars?
I think she has the potential to do better.
Sure.
I think if she comes back exactly how she is, she's a pre-merge vote.
Okay.
I think if she comes back the different side of her and with not being so outwardly combative, there's a good chance. And also, I don't want to discount how much Keith probably got under her skin.
Discount double check?
Discount. You know, I don't really care for Keith. Keith is kind of a jerk. And not just, like, I'm not blaming Keith for Jerry being rude or being terrible around camp, but, you know, they've been living together for 26 days. He's able to shut up and kind of bear it. She's not as much. So if that's part of the reason why she was so combative, because of the harsh environment and because of her and Keith's constant feud and awkwardness around camp and all of that, then she can do quite well. If that was not if she doesn't grow and that's not the element that was causing that, then she's not going to be around long.
Well, give it a few months. We'll get there.
Yep.
Who is your protagonist of the episode?
It's Jerry this episode.
Okay.
That's sort of the question. If the show was allowed to show Nick, then it probably would be Nick, because this really should be the story of how Nick winning immunity flipped this sort of tribal line voting. But the reason it flipped the tribal line voting is because Jerry is so insufferable that they just have to get rid of her.
It's the perfect storm of, we have to change our minds. Well, we could take out the person that we can't stand anymore. Okay.
Yeah. So it's Jerry. She really dug her own grave through this episode. And I am excited to see more of her. Hoping that she is more like early season Jerry that I quite liked, and not mid to late season Jerry that I'm glad is going home.
We will find out.
That's true.
Anything else to add?
No. I always say no and then I add something.
No.
Let's
talk about quantum physics.
I'll talk about quantum physics. It's fascinating. The rest of the season is going to be fascinating because now my prediction of vote order from last episode wasn't necessarily wrong. Like I said,
go on, defend it for me.
Well, no, not defend, but I said Nick unless he wins immunity. Mm-hmm. Like all of those have a giant asterisk of unless they win immunity.
Absolutely.
And I said Nick, Jerry, then Elizabeth, and Nick got jumped because of immunity, and Jerry's gone.
Sure.
So now I still feel like Nick's the next to go.
Okay.
Now Amber, did I say Amber or did I say Elizabeth actually after Jerry?
Remember.
It doesn't matter. Now I do think if Nick does not win immunity again, I do think he's gone next week.
Okay.
If he does win immunity, I still think then they have to get rid of Elizabeth or Roger. I don't think they can risk going down to a tie situation.
Makes sense.
And then after they're a couple numbers up, I think they get rid of Amber. Amber, maybe I'd be interested if Amber flips. I'm hoping we get more Amber now that Jerry, like, she's not living in Jerry's shadow. Mm-hmm. And I hope we get more Nick eventually before he goes home.
Fair.
Yeah.
Absolutely fair. Bumper. So that'll do it for this episode of the Survivor Turning Back Time podcast. Oh, we're getting to the thick of it. Like I said, we skipped the recap episode, and we'll probably continue doing that into the future. We'll talk about it maybe a little bit next episode. if we have time. I'm not gonna guarantee that,
Yeah.
because there may not be a whole lot of information to talk about. It may be a quick, hey, this is what we saw in the recap episode. You don't need to watch a recap episode because it's an antiquated thing.
Yeah, whichever one of us watches it first, we can reach out to the other and tell them whether it's even worth watching, to be honest.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anything you would like to promote?
I'd like to promote you guys promoting us.
Nice.
Just gonna plug again, like, same spiel, reviews, telling friends, sharing it in like Discord servers and Instagram and all of that. Our numbers are still growing. We have more. We're growing a community here. It's very nice. It's very fun, and we would like to keep doing it. We're going to keep doing it regardless. But success begets success in this case, and we have to keep Daddy Algorithm happy. So keep us plug us.
Go on, Daddy Algorithm. Yeah, tell people that you like our show, or just even a review is super cool. If you go on and review it on wherever you're listening, even just with stars, if you want to be like, boom, 5 stars and say nothing, that's great. We love that. It helps us.
Yeah, I think on Spotify that's all you can do. I don't think you can write reviews.
Oh, nice. Cool. I don't know. It's fine. I would like to promote, if you... Not many times am I going to be like, go out, consume capitalism, but here we are. If you like Survivor, which I'm assuming you do, you're listening to this, CBS sells buffs on their website, and I have a few. I bought the Season 40 Winners at War edition, which is black, and it's super cool. I love that one. Oh, but I also bought one from Season 42. So, like...
Question about Winners at War.
Sure.
Do they get... I know there's people that are multi-time winners, so it won't be all 40 people, but do they actually get every single winner for that season?
No, they don't... They don't get every single person because it would be a lot. I think they condense it to the ones who are, 1, willing to play.
Sure.
2, are socially acceptable to play.
Oh.
3, there is a casting process. So they trim it down to, I think, 18 or 20.
Okay.
Yeah. So still a good mix of old school, new school.
Sure.
But yeah, it makes for an interesting season when suddenly the target of, hey, I've won,
is gone. Yeah, that will be... I'm very excited for that in All-Stars.
I won't say anything there. I think there is a little... Because not everyone in All-Stars is a winner.
No.
Any kind of these returners, I think there is a huge target on your back if you did well before, or if you're a winner.
So all the All-Stars cast I know of so far is Rich, Sue, Rudy, Jenna, Alicia, and I almost said Kimmy, Jerry. So 6 people, 1 winner. So, if we're assuming the winner of each of the 7 seasons goes on to be in All-Stars, that's still less than half the cast. I'm interested to see how that will paint a target on their backs.
I do believe you would be assuming wrong if you said all the winners return.
Oh, no, okay.
I have to double check that in my brain, but I just from looking at this picture, I can almost guarantee that not all winners return.
Man, imagine being a winner and not being invited back to All-Stars. Like, yeah, you won, but you're still not one of the best 18 or however many you play the game.
Oh, yes, yeah, I'm looking at... There's one that definitely did turn down an offer. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to go deeper into that.
Okay.
Cool. That'll do it for this episode of the Survivor 30 Back Time podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. For my co-host, Jared, I am Steven.
For my host, Steven, I'm Jared.
You laughed, so I thought I did it wrong.
I laughed because you were focusing so hard on doing it right.
Because I did it wrong last episode, and I want to get it right. Damn it. Bye-bye.
Bye.